All praise to the Most High, Ahaya. This is Brother Holly here on the AHAYAH'S channel, here with the Spirit of Truth broadcast for this set-apart Sabbath day. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to the Most High. It's been a glorious week. It's been a time of refreshing for me, and I hope it was a time of refreshing for you. Today is the rest day. I'm just going to remind you again to get your rest today. Cease from your own labors as the Most High cease from his. And I just want to bring this out, and it's not what I want to talk about today, but this is something important to say, that the Sabbath is a sign. That's what the scriptures say. It's a sign between us and the Almighty that we are his people, and he is our Most High. Those who keep the Sabbath are identified as the ones who've been set apart by the Most High to be his people. That's found in the book of Exodus. But what I want to talk to you about today is coming from the 3rd chapter of John, which is very familiar. And I'm showing you this Aramaic interlinear, I can get it right, Aramaic interlinear translation. I just received this in the mail this week. It's an Aramaic New Testament. And as I've been reading it and paying attention to some of the differences found between the Aramaic translations of the New Testament and the Greek translation of the New Testament, I'm starting to discover that why the Aramaic Peshitas, or the Aramaic copies of the New Testament, have been risen to a sense of primacy or having authority over the Greek translations. And I say that because of not just wordplay, but because of doctrinal differences that I'm starting to see within the scriptures. And I would like to go over John 3, which is very familiar to us all, in a way of just showing just the subtle differences in the rendering. So I'll be reading from the Aramaic interlinear translation. And if you know anything about interlinear Bibles, they are very difficult to read. They don't put the sentences together in most of them. And in this one, the sentences are put together in a left to right orientation in some places, where in other places it is not. So you have to kind of roughly put it together. But the Gospel of John is one place where they did put the sentences together, so it makes it a little bit easier to read. So I'll start reading at John chapter 3, verse 1. One man of the Pharisees was living there. His name was Nicodemus. He was a leader of the Jews. And again, I'm coming from the Aramaic translation. Verse 2. This man came to Yeshua at night and said to him, Master, we know that you are a teacher sent from the Most High, for no man is able to do these miracles that you are doing unless the Most High were with him. And I would like to point out that the word for Yeshua in the Aramaic is Isha or Ishaya, and the word for the Most High is Alahaya. But I'll just be using the Hebraic or the Hebrew words. And we'll be talking about that later today. The difference between Hebrew and Hebrew. But I digress. We'll read that verse again. This man came to Yeshua at night and said to him, Master, we know that you are a teacher sent from the Most High, but no man is able to do these miracles that you are doing unless the Most High were with him. And Yeshua answered and said unto him, Timeless truth I am telling you, if a person is not born again, it is impossible for that one to see the kingdom of the Most High. Nicodemus said to him, How can an old man be born? It is not possible for him again to enter his mother's womb a second time to be born. Yeshua answered and said unto him, Timeless truth I am telling you, If a person is not born from water and the Spirit, it is impossible that he shall enter into the kingdom of the Most High. That which is born from flesh is flesh. Now, in a Greek translation, it says that which is born of flesh. Now, that's not the same as from flesh. The Aramaic makes it very clear it's talking about human birth here. I'll read it again. That which is born from flesh is flesh, and that which is born from the Spirit is spirit. It says, do not be surprised, next verse, do not be surprised that I say unto you that you must be born again. And here's where, in the next verse is where it departs from the Greek translation in context the greatest. And you'll hear it immediately, I hope. It says, the Spirit breathes where he will, and you hear his voice, but you do not know from where he comes and where he goes. Thus is everyone who is born of the Spirit. I'm going to read it from a Greek translation, from the Texas Receptus found in the AHAYAH'S version of the Scriptures. I'm going to read that same verse in John's Gospel. It's John chapter 3, verse 8. It says the wind, instead of the Spirit, it says the wind blows where it wishes, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it cometh, and whither it goes. So is everyone that is born of the Spirit. Now, in the Aramaic translation, it says he. It identifies that the Spirit of the Most High is male in gender, is the Most High himself. I'll read it again from the Aramaic. The Spirit breathes where he will, and you hear his voice, but you do not know from where he comes and where he goes. Thus is everyone that is born of the Spirit. It says here in the next verse, Nicodemus answered and said to him, how can these things be? We're going to see what Yeshua says. Yeshua answered him and said to him, you are a teacher of Yasharel, and you do not know these things? Timeless truth I tell to you, the things that we know we are speaking, and the things that we see we are testifying, and our testimony you all do not accept. If I told all of you that which is in the earth, and you are not believing, how shall you believe me if I tell you that which is in heaven? Now here Yeshua was saying, if I speak to you about things you can actually see, touch, and feel, and you don't believe me, how can you believe me if I talk to you about things that you can't see, touch, and feel? If I speak to you about the invisible realm, that which the Apostle Paul, whom you trust, said, the things which are visible are temporal, but the things that are invisible are eternal. If I talk to you about eternity or eternal things, if you don't believe me when I talk about natural things that are temporary, how are you going to believe me when I talk about eternal things? Next verse. And no man goes up to heaven except he who went down from heaven, the Son of Man, he who is in heaven. And just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, thus the Son of Man is going to be lifted up, so that every person who believes in him should not be lost, but eternal life shall be his. I'm going to let that sink in for a little bit. We're going to read it again. So that every person who believes in him, believes in who? The one who came down from heaven, the son of AHAYAH, the one who put on flesh and dwelt among us. Who it says in John, we're gonna talk about this in a later, again coming from the Aramaic. We're gonna talk about John 10, where Yeshua calls himself the great I am. But I digress. It says so that every person who believes in him should not be lost, but eternal life shall be his. We believe on Yeshua. We believe that as the serpent was lifted up and the children of Yasharel in the wilderness were saved or redeemed or given life, everyone who looked upon the brazen serpent lived. They had to have faith. In the same way, you got to look to Yeshua, the Son of the Most High, AHAYAH, who came to this earth, died on the tree for your transgressions and your sinfulness, and he imparted into you a gift. By faith in him, that gift is life eternal. Life to take the place of your death. Life to take the place of your destruction. Life to take the place of your denial of him. It says here in the next verse, and this is a verse you're very familiar with, for the Most High loved the world in this way, so much that he would give up his Son, the only one, so that everyone who trusts in him should not be lost, but eternal life shall be his. For the Most High did not send his Son into the world that he should condemn the world, but that he should give life to the world by his hand. That life should be given to the world. And we already know who the world is, spoken of in the Gospel of John. Go to the 18th chapter. Yeshua was in the temple. They asked him of his doctrine and of his disciples, and he said clearly, I spake openly to the world. I was ever in the synagogue and in the temple where the Jews always resort, and in secret I said nothing. He defined the world as the Jews that were in Judea. And that is in direct support of Isaiah chapter 45 verse 17, where all of Yasharel, wherever they are referred to as the world without end. That's who he came to save. He came into his own, remember that, and his own received him not. And who rejected him? It was the chief scribes, the Pharisees, and the Sadducees who rejected him. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of AHAYAH, even to those who believe on his name. Next verse, whoever believes in him is not judged, and whoever does not believe is judged already, because he does not believe in the name of the only begotten Son of the Most High. Believe on Yeshua for your salvation. Believe on him for your redemption. Believe on him for your gift of everlasting life, and you shall receive it. You have his word. All praise to the Most High. AHAYAH.